Good morning. I'm Lauren Gibbons. I'm a reporter with MLive, and I have with me today members of Michigan's Independent Redistricting Commission, which is tasked with drawing the political maps in the upcoming cycle. And whatever maps they come up with will be in place for 10 years. So it's a big decision. So please welcome Cynthia Orton and Anthony Eade from the commission. And anyone who has questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'll try to incorporate those, but I have some questions prepared as well to get us started. So yeah, I guess I will start out with for the commissioners here. This is a unique and the first time that this process has happened in the way that it's happening right now, where an independent commission is taking feedback from the public, and that is a very important part of the final decision that you'll end up making. So could you talk a little bit about how the commission is structured and how it's different from what we've seen before in terms of drawing political lines?
Anthony, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Thank you, Cynthia. First off, thank you for hosting this webinar. We really appreciate it. It's always good to get the word out there to all of the people of Michigan, or at least as many as we can reach. As you said, this is the first time that a commission like this is taking place. So we're the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, and we were created due to the 2018 midterm election, where over 61% of Michigan voters voted yes on Proposal 2. What that proposal did was take away redistricting powers away from the legislature, which is the group of politicians that used to draw the maps, resulting in gerrymandered maps. It took it away from them and put that responsibility onto a group of 13 randomly selected Michigan citizens. So all 13 of us were randomly selected in a lottery. There are 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 that don't affiliate with either political party. And our job is to redraw the maps for Michigan's U.S. congressional seats. There are 13 of those. State House seats, of which there are 110, and state Senate seats, of which there are 38. So right now we're on a public comment tour. We're going around the state to hear what the people of our great state have to say about the maps and about the type of representation they want. And we're having our last one today at 5 p.m. in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the Grand Rapids public hearing, you'll be able to participate in person, or you can participate virtually. There's several ways you can do it. There's also an online public comment portal where people can come in. And we also have another commissioner here with us joining us now, MC Rothorn. So we have 3 commissioners here. 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, and 1 independent. So every aspect of the commission is represented here. And so my next question for you, because I get this question all the time from readers and people who are interested in this process, communities of interest is an aspect of this redistricting process that I think is a newer concept. I know that actually later today the commission will be having a press conference about how they're going to incorporate that. But I'd love to hear from you all about what communities of interest are, and some maybe some examples that you've been hearing from people who've commented publicly throughout your tour, and how that's going to be incorporated into the commission's final map drawings.
So communities of interest is not clearly defined in the Constitution. It is, let me read here. It says, communities of interest may include, but shall not be limited to, populations that are cultural or historical, that share cultural or historical characteristics or economic interests. They do not include relationships with political parties or things like that. So some examples that we have heard on our listening tour are maybe lakeshore communities. Help me out, guys. What are some other ones?
When I think of communities of interest, right, I think it was purposely written the way it was to encourage the public to kind of self-define it. But when I think about it, it's not all that hard. It's what are the things that make the community? What are the shared values that community has that makes them that community? So as Cynthia just said, we've heard lakeshore communities. We've heard quite a few cultural communities. Just last week we were in Warren and had a quite sizable Bengali group that came and gave public comment. We've had other cultural groups as well, such as the Arab Americans and the Dutch people in our state. We've had people that rely on factories, people that rely on the auto industry, and just a whole plethora of things that make those communities those communities.
Mm-hmm. And MC, do you have any? Do you want to weigh in here? I know we've talked about this before.
Sure. Maybe I'll just add that what we also it is explicit what they do not include, and that is that they do not include political parties. So a political party is not a community of interest.
Mm-hmm. And to call back for those who may have not remembered the 2018 the Voters Not Politicians ballot initiative, that was a big part of why the Independent Commission was created in the first place. People wanted to remove the politicians from the political process, and that's part of the reason we're here now. And we have a comment that came in that referenced some concerns about rural areas being represented, and I'd love to hear from you all. I know you've been around the state often in population centers, and could you talk about how the rural areas have been reached out to, and how the commission is trying to incorporate folks who may be living out in farm country or not able to necessarily make it to some of these hearings?
Who wants to take that?
I can take that.
Okay.
So we have billboard campaigns. We have, I guess, traditional media campaigns. We've been working with the Farm Bureau, and we have had representatives from, I shouldn't say representatives, but we've had people who identify, a lot of people who identify as rural and as from manufacturing areas in rural zones who have given testimony. So we've had a great number of people, especially from the rural areas. I'm going to highlight Jackson, where we kicked it off. We had well over 70 comments in the beginning of our tour. That was still back in May. And so I don't know, it's a great question. How are people hearing about us, right? It's a great question and I don't think we want to rest on our laurels. We want more, but we are doing everything we can to get the word out. And that includes a phone line, because we know that there is a digital divide. And we know that digital divide is not just in the rural areas. We know that that's in suburban places. We were in downriver area of Detroit, and they were very clear that they have just as bad a digital divide or an accessibility issue as in the rural areas. And we know that there's great distances that people travel in the rural zone. So we use the billboards, frankly, as well as we're looking at a direct mail campaign that has not kicked off yet. But we do know that we need to create more awareness. We're not resting on our laurels, and we're certainly not finished. So I hope that answers the question.
And along with that, I'll just add that although our public hearings have been in larger areas around the state, 16 of them, we have also been doing smaller town halls and things where commissioners will go to different groups, and we welcome any invitations. We can always fill those. And also, we have commissioners that are reaching out to county fairs and festivals and things like that around the state, where we will go represent the commission there. So we hope to reach everyone.
Mm-hmm. And to those that we can't reach in person, they can also submit public comment on our public comment tool that's available on our website. using that public comment tool, you can submit not only written public comment, but you can even draw a map and send it to us. That map can be of the whole state. It could be just of your rural community. It could be of your community of interest. So I'd recommend, if you're not able to reach us in person, take a look at our website, www.michigan.gov, MICRC, and send us something on there.
Can I just correct? So it's /MICRC.
Yeah, no.
And one thing about that public comment portal, if you click on that, you can see everything that the commissioners see. Every comment or every map that has been submitted, it's all there. And you can comment on other people's comments or maps. And that's just everything that we see as well. So I think that that's part of the transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to get a link to where people can comment publicly and see the last public hearing time if they need it. And as you wind down this statewide tour, what are some of the common themes that have come up from people who have come in and weighed in? It seems as though you're averaging between 70 to 100 people coming to each of these public hearings. What are some of the common themes that have emerged from what people want to see out of their political districts?
I think the main theme is people want fair, transparent process. They want fair maps. They want everyone's voices to be heard. I think transparency and fairness is what we hear over and over.
I think we're hearing a lot of gratitude too, that we're doing it in this way, that it is, I think people, when Cynthia mentioned the town halls, we were in places in the, I guess it was the Eastern UP, and they just were so grateful that we just showed up, and we heard over and over, and we were, I think, and as Anthony mentioned, the Bengali community in Warren, they were also just grateful that we showed up. So there's this, right, what Cynthia said, right? It's a transparent process. People want fair maps, and they're grateful that I think people are getting the idea that, we're doing it that way. It's happening. It's live, and it's going until the end of this year. So stay tuned for more of it.
And I would like to add, because we have had some comments, some people are still skeptical because maybe they don't trust the political process of, how it's been done in the past or whatever. But I would just like to assure everyone that everything we do, you see. We don't do anything that isn't live and isn't captured on video and available on YouTube for everyone to see.
Mm-hmm. And moving forward, so today is the last of the current cycle of public hearings. There will be more public hearings later in the process once the draft maps are released. But is there a means for people to continue to comment publicly? Will you continue to monitor the online portion of the public comment tools as you move into this next phase of your process here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of nods. So if you haven't made one of the public hearings, or you haven't weighed in online yet and would like to, if you have it here, they will be continuing to check the public comment tool and taking those factors into account.
Yeah, I'll just say we do. Each of the 13 of us do read every comment that comes in, and we will continue to. Obviously, as we start drawing, people are going to have comments about that, and we will continue to.
And people can also join us at our business meetings. There is a chance for public comment at those meetings. And like you said, where there's going to be a whole nother round of these kind of formal listening sessions that we undertake later in the process after we put out a first draft.
Mm-hmm. And moving into this next phase, talk about what the commission is going to be doing now. You have a lot of public comments. More public comments will presumably continue to come in. What's the next step in the process?
So under the Michigan Constitution, we cannot actually, put pen to paper and draw any maps until we first have these public hearings. So now, after these public hearings are complete later today, we will have the ability to start drawing. We're in the process now of getting our processes together on how exactly we're going to be working with our vendors that we hired in order to do that. But by and large, now that the hearings are over, we're gonna start drawing maps. We're gonna get the census data, hopefully soon. Then we're gonna draw the maps. Now, this drawing is gonna be a first draft. After this first draft is complete, we're gonna release it to the public and give the public at least 45 days for them to comment on those maps. And during those 45 days, we're gonna go out to 8 more public hearings to give the public a chance to tell us what they have to say in person. And then after those 45 days are complete, we're going to take those comments we get and make a final draft.
And you referenced it, but further complicating matters in what's already a brand new process is the delays in census data. And for those who may not have seen the news, the U.S. Census data, it has not come out yet. It's typically released a lot earlier than it is, but there were a lot of delays in getting that data finalized due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And that actually has a big impact on the commission because there's technically in the Constitution a November 1st deadline. And I know that the commission is currently waiting to hear from the Supreme Court on whether that deadline can be officially extended or, if that will have to be determined at a later date. But how does that complicating factor impact your work?
Well, it's do you want to take this one, Cynthia?
Well, I just think it does complicate. It just puts a little more pressure on us. But all we can do is just move forward with the work and do it as fast as we can, and still do it right. We won't be able to have the complete data right away since we can start drawing lines soon, since we're having our last public hearing tonight. But we can use the previous data to practice and to learn what we're going to have to learn about drawing the maps. Then as soon as the data is available, we will be able to hit the ground running and do our best.
And I'll offer too that we're also trying to coordinate all of the comments that we get, that we will continue to receive. Right, we're also trying to organize those and make sure those are actually referenceable and part of what we're drawing, so we can practice with a lot of the data that we have is from the citizens, right, from the people who are giving us this input. So the census data is important, and there is some uncertainty with that. But we're just coming out of a lot of uncertainty with COVID, right? We've all wanted it to open up, and I suppose, right, what's happening, I suppose, is that we're pretty well prepared to deal with uncertainty, right? The census and trying to understand what is certain and when it's going to happen, we don't have it. So we're just gonna, like Cynthia said, we're just gonna move forward with the data we do have, which is from the people, which is this public comments. We're gonna organize it, understand it, immerse ourselves in it. And then when we have this other data from the census, which is important, we'll be well prepared.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about a few of the criteria that you'll be judging. We've talked about communities of interest. We're talking about the census data right now. What are the other criteria that is constitutionally required of the commission to consider when drawing these maps?
Well, I have my list in front of me just so I don't make any mistakes on that because it's important. So The first one is equal population and following the Voting Rights Act. So those are federal laws. The second one is they need to be geographically contiguous. So we can't have little islands out, islands of, not literal islands, but islands of people that aren't connected to the rest of their district. And then there's communities of interest. And then districts shall not provide a disproportionate advantage to any political party. And districts shall not favor or disfavor an incumbent elected official or candidate. Then districts shall reflect consideration of county, city, and township boundaries. And lastly, districts shall be reasonably compact. And those are in ranked order. So top down is most important constitutionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for going through those. I was realizing as we were talking, if someone hasn't seen that language, it was probably good to bring it up. And one thing that I have heard in several of the hearings that I've personally attended, it seems as though a lot of people are referencing their school districts as a community of interest. And those lines are, often cross over county or a city, or they are shaped a little differently than how a city or township or community might necessarily be shaped. And, how do you see school districts factoring into what the commission ultimately considers? Are you pulling data from the school district lines and kind of using that in public comment to sort of incorporate it into your considerations?
So MC, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We have talked to our mapping specialists, and they say that we are able to kind of layer the school districts in. So we will be able to reference those and take that into consideration when we're drawing the lines.
And I would go ahead, Anthony.
It's just another one of those data points that we have, right? So it's another, thing that the communities are asking for that, it may or may not make a difference in the end. We haven't decided, but, it definitely could. If the first thing is the districts have to have equal population. So if we need a few more people in one area, school districts might be something we look at to get a few more people in a certain area, because that wouldn't be breaking apart the community. So, it's another data point. We're not sure how we're going to use it yet, but the capability to use it is definitely there.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned already, there is a 4 Democrat, 4 Republican, 5 independent split on the commission, and a majority needs to approve any of the draft maps that are coming out of the commission in order for them to be adopted. And I guess from each of you, because you're all representing different aspects of the commission's partisan leanings, how has the commission been working together, and do you see the commission being able to do this in a very independent and way that everyone can kind of, or at least a majority can agree to?
I would say yes, and I want to acknowledge that yes, we do affiliate, but we're not politicians, right? I'm not a Democrat, right? I affiliate, that's how I voted, but I'm not a Democrat. I actually recognize myself as more of a citizen who chooses when based on the issues that are out there. So I think many of us on our commission, right, recognize that sort of human element, right, before we recognize the political element, right? We also, come from rural areas and urban areas, and right, we have a lot more than just our political affiliation. And the question's a good one, because I think the trust that we want people to feel in our commission is that we aren't only looking at that, right? And we aren't identifying and affiliating, I suppose, only with our party. We at this point we've had a really collegial, right, rapport with each other. I think we've found ways to bridge and understand each other's and listen to each other. And I suppose that's, it's modeling a lot of what we're hearing from the public too, like the idea that we want a transparent process, and they want to give us feedback, and we're doing the same thing with ourselves, right? Being open and transparent with ourselves, and then as a commission, and then modeling it so that others can get there. But I hope that folks will ultimately recognize that we are more than just our political affiliations.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to second that, what MC said, and just say, really, the political affiliations has kind of been on the bottom of the list as far as how we function. It took a long time. In fact, just recently, I figured out finally, now when I see another commissioner, I know automatically what political party or what their affiliation is. But until just recently, I really hadn't figured it all out. I mean, I had the list and I knew, but we just don't pay attention to that. We just work together and move forward.
Yeah, I think if the public watches our meetings that are all live streamed and all posted to YouTube, you'd probably have a pretty hard time determining who's in what category of party. I agree with what MC said. The 13 of us, we're not politicians. We're regular, Michigander citizens, and we're trying to make a difference and make things fair. So I recommend people watch our meetings. They can get to know us a little bit, and we definitely got lucky with the group of 13 that we got. And we didn't get any super extreme crazy people, and we're working pretty well together. So we got lucky here.
Certainly. And we're starting to wind down. We have a few minutes left. Just to remind our viewers, there is another public hearing that you can attend in person in Grand Rapids tonight at 5 p.m. There is a public comment portal online where you can submit comments to the commission. And at their regular meetings, you can offer public comment or add questions in that way as well. But I'd like to go to each of you if you have any final closing remarks or anything that you think is really important for the public to know as this process continues.
Well, I'll just wrap up by saying thank you. We appreciate you helping us get the word out. That is our main goal right now, is to get the word out to every Michigan citizen. We would love to hear from every Michigan citizen, and we will take all that information and make fair maps.
Yes, and that their input will actually help us make these fair maps, right? We need to ultimately draw these lines and substantiate why we've drawn this line here. And it's helpful if we have comments from the public that help us, essentially substantiate that, why that line is there instead of in another place. So what Cynthia said, it's crucial that we hear from the public. It's part of what we're doing when we're drawing the maps.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just kind of wrap up by, saying this is the first time a commission like this is undertaking this job. So we're not going to get it perfect. Right? We're going to do the best we can, and it's going to be a hell of a lot better than what we have now. But it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But 10 years from now, the next redistricting commission will have a little bit of a head start compared to what we have, because they'll have our work to go back on. But I hope the public can trust this process and join us and being involved in it.
Absolutely. Well, MC, Cynthia, Anthony, thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And we'll be sure to post links to the commission's work in our comment feed, and this will also be up on YouTube as well, so people can watch us later. But thank you again. Really appreciate your time, and thanks to all who've been tuning into this conversation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.